degree that that was possible.
So one of the questions we're getting a lot of on Twitter, it's interesting, is this war on men and the idea of masculinity, of all questions at a women's summit. So I'll read it. As conservative women, how can we help end society's negative stereotype of masculinity?
I think you do that. I really think the fundamental way you do that is by constraining it in your own relationship. You know, now one of the things you'll find, now I'm going to tread on thin ice here, but that's okay. One of the things you'll find is that that attitude towards, let's say, toxic masculinity is likely to manifest itself in your own relationship. You know, in your distrust of your partner, say. And I'm not saying that you should naively trust your partner. I don't think you should naively trust anyone, right? And sometimes people confuse naivety with trust. Say, well, when I was a kid, I trusted everyone. It's like, well, that wasn't wisdom, right? You just didn't know any better because you were a kid. And you say, well, then I got hurt and now I don't trust anyone. It's like, well, you're wiser now that you've been hurt because you know that that can happen and you know that that's within the realm of human possibility. And you say, well, yeah, but it's damaged my ability to trust. It's like, no, it hasn't. You never had any ability to trust. You just had naive faith in other people, and that's not the same thing. Once you've been hurt, trust becomes an act of courage, not an act of naivety. You say, well, I know that, like me, you're full of snakes, and God only knows when one's going to pop out and bite me, and the same goes for you in relationship to me. It's like, so well, why should I trust you? And the answer is, because you're courageous. Because if you put forward your hand and trust someone to do the right thing, you radically increase the probability that they will. Now, you don't increase it to 100%, and you lay yourself open for betrayal, right? But if you know that, if you're awake to that, you say, look, I'm willing to take the risk to be hurt in order to extend my hand in trust. Well, that's how you combat toxic masculinity. Right then and there, you do it in your own heart, you know. And you will call forth the best from the person that you're with by doing that. You know, and that's partly the willingness to be vulnerable. And I don't mean naively, right? Because there's no courage in vulnerability unless you know the price that you might pay. And so you have to trust and you have to be honest. That's the other thing, you know, and that's part of trusting. You need to let your partner know who you are and what you want. And that also means you have to let yourself know, and that's not such an easy thing too. You have to have a dialogue with yourself and figure out what you want, and you have to be willing to share that with your partner. I think the way that you glue the relationships between men and women back together is by doing that locally, first of all, right? You deal with your boyfriend, you deal with your husband, you deal with your brothers, you glue things back together with your father if you can do that. You establish a positive relationship with your son. And then having learned how to do that, well, you're going to spread your influence out properly into the broader community. And I'm a very big admirer of local action. It's like, because local action isn't local. It spreads out so quickly you can't believe it. And if you do things right in the little domains that you have right in front of you, first of all, that's not easy. Like, it's hard to have a good relationship that maintains itself properly across time. That will take everything you've got. And if you're capable of developing the character that will allow you to do that, moving that out into the broader social world will be a simple thing in comparison. So you start by manifesting courageous faith in your partner and the men that are close to you in your life. And then you watch, and you let them know when that trust is being violated, obviously, because you're not a pushover. You say what you have to say, and that way you heal those relationships, and that'll do the trick. That's all you need to do. All you need to do. It's like, good luck with that. It's very, very hard. But you can do it, and it won't cause any harm. That's also a very good thing.
So, what